and welcome to the Castelnau Connect podcast. My name is Lorraine Smith, Chief of Staff here at Castelnau Group. In this podcast, we will speak to entrepreneurs, innovators and business leaders within our network, but also within the group. Today we are joined by Greg Fletcher, co-founder and CTO at Ocula Technologies. Ocula is a software as a service company that provides data and analytical tools to companies to basically help them grow sales, profitability through AI-driven insights. Ocula work with portfolio companies within the group, but they also have some external high-profile clients. So Greg, welcome and thanks a mil for coming on to the podcast. Really delighted to have you with us. How are things, first of all?
No, great. Thank you very much for having me. Things are really good. Lots of exciting stuff happening at Ocula. Recently closed out our 4 million Series A. So we've got some great people kind of joining the journey alongside Castelnau.
Congratulations on the closing out of your Series A. Very well done. I know a lot of work goes into these things, so yeah, well done to you guys and you and the team. Can you give us a bit of background into yourself? Just like how you came about, like how did you end up at Ocula? Where did it all begin for you? And yeah, it'd be good to have a bit of insight.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my career in academia. So I did a PhD and a postdoctoral position in the field of experimental particle physics.
Wow.
So I spent some time working at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, and what I was doing there was analysing massive amounts of data coming out of the Atlas detector. So it was measuring proton-proton collisions, producing all sorts of interesting physics processes, and I was doing the computational analysis coming out of that. And that's where I really kind of got the bug for scientific computing. Decided to make the fairly well-travelled transition from academia into the data science. So I worked at Deloitte for a number of years. What I was doing there was kind of designing, developing and implementing advanced algorithmic solutions for retailers and CPGs to solve quite a broad variety of use cases. So this could be price optimization, customer intelligence, e-commerce optimization, and so on. And from there, spent a little bit of time in the product space that we had there.
Yeah.
And what that was doing was basically wrapping all the engineering infrastructure around the AI and the algorithms to create repeatable, robust and scalable software solutions. We had a partnership there with Ocula Technologies, so I got to spend a lot of time with their engineers and really learning how to productionize AI.
Wow.
And then from there, co-founded Ocula with Tom, and haven't looked back since.
And you were chief data scientist in Deloitte when you left?
Yeah, that's right. In the product space that we had there. Yeah.
And how did your passion for computer science come about? Like, were you always, I'm presuming you're always really good at maths and physics and all these kind of things in school?
I think it's that alchemy really between abstract mathematical concepts, computation, and real world impact. So being able to, in the field of data science, to be able to create an algorithm for, let's take for example, product recommender system. This is something that I actually worked on with my co-founder Tom.
Right.
We had the pleasure of working together at Deloitte, and we built these for Sainsbury's and eBay.
Nice.
And what we were able to do is to accurately predict relevant products for specific customers based on their transactional history. So to take mathematical concepts, codify all of that up into an automated process, provide recommendations to customers, and then actually see that influence their behaviour and have an impact on the real world. That to me is the real thrill and the real excitement here, and it's something we've managed to take forward into Ocula.
Brilliant. And obviously working in Deloitte, very structured, I'd imagine, and kind of corporate feel. How was the transition from that environment to a startup environment? If you know what I mean, very, very different, obviously.
Yeah, I guess one of the great things about working somewhere like Deloitte is that you get to work on a broad range of business problems and a broad range of businesses. And that gives you a really unique vantage point to find the common pain points and where the opportunities are to bring a SaaS solution into the market. Making the transition, however, I guess there are two main challenges. Right? When you've got a big name like Deloitte behind you, you've got all sorts of open doors into FTSE 100 companies. When you're a startup and all you have to show for yourself is your credentials, a vision deck of what you want to build, and in the background you're busy building something, but it's not necessarily ready. You have to really convince companies that you're worth working with, and that is actually where Castelnau helped enormously. The relationship that we had with you and the access that we had to portfolio companies to allow us to incubate our ideas really helped us get over that cold start almost. The second biggest challenge is recruitment. So we found we set from the off a very, very high talent bar. Ultimately, software is only as good as the people who write it, and we thought it would be foolish of us to hire too quickly maybe people who were of average talent and then kind of regret it further down the line. So at the same time, again, you don't have a great deal to show for yourself, and you're asking people who are in great jobs, who are incredibly talented, the pick of the market, to trust you. And that really is about selling the vision, selling yourself, getting people excited about the journey. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think will be the biggest kind of advancements that emerge in AI in the next kind of 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. So what you find at the moment is the conversation around AI kind of oscillates a little bit between where we are now, so generative AI, large language models, and some of the machine learning that we've all been quite familiar with over the last 10 years or so. And the other extreme, AGI. So you see a lot of talk about a Skynet type scenario where you have like a super intelligence that can go off and do all sorts of nefarious things. And I actually think what we're going to see the emergence of is definitely not AGI. I think we're quite a long way away from that system that can essentially act and think like a human being. But more towards what's called artificial capable intelligence. So this is moving beyond what a system can generate and more about what it can do. So systems that can essentially execute a complex combination of different tasks to achieve a business objective. There's a really great book by the co-founder of DeepMind and Inflection AI, Mustafa Suleyman, called The Coming Wave. And he talks about an artificial capable intelligence system and makes some predictions that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see the real emergence of these. And what's really interesting is he puts forward a modern version of the Turing test to assess whether we've kind of reached that point. And that his Turing test is give a system $100,000 and tell it to make $1 million within a few months on a retail web platform. And the prediction is that within this time frame we're going to see a system that's capable of doing that, which would require research and development of products, design, liaising with manufacturers and logistics providers. But that's the kind of system that we're moving towards. And
how do you think Ocula's positioned kind of for all of that?
Yeah, so three ways, right? Things that Ocula that we're doing now to ensure that we're set up to be right there, kind of leading in the space as it evolves and moves forward. The first is making sure we have an architecture that's scalable and flexible. So we design our platform to make sure that all of our different components or microservices are all wrapped in APIs. We have a very clean contract between them. So that means that within the platform, the different components can interact with each other in a very well-defined, clean way. But also we're able to interact with other parts of the e-com tech stack easily as well. So as we see more of these kind of agentic systems or RAG systems coming through, we're right there positioned for our tech to be able to leverage all of that. That's the first thing. The second thing is ensuring that we are agnostic of foundational model. So we avoid any kind of vendor lock-in. The large language model space is evolving at absolutely dizzying pace at the moment. Almost like every day you're seeing new model updates coming through. You're seeing advancements, across the major companies like Claude, Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini, and so on, but also lots of open source stuff coming through on Hugging Face as well. So we need to have a system that's able to leverage the benefits of all of those to quickly evaluate how they're performing against others and make sure that we can build upon those foundational models with our magic, our kind of secret source of the data that we have and the fine tuning and so on. And the final thing is keeping pace with expertise. So ensuring that we create time and space within our day-to-day to be constantly reviewing what's out there, looking at the competitors, looking at advancements in the space. One example for Ocula is making sure we are up to date with emerging kind of agentic design patterns. And one that we've adopted quite recently is called reflection. And what this means is you can have a large language model or an AI system that's doing a specific task, in our instance generating copy for product display pages, and it's fine-tuned and it's very good at doing that. And then you have a separate system or separate AI or LLM that's fine-tuned and an expert at QAing the copy. These two things are completely siloed, but they can talk to each other. Right. So the one can assess the other, and that's an emerging design pattern called reflection. And we're able to keep on top of this stuff because we create the space within each week and month to review what's out there, what other people are doing.
Wow. And obviously AI is everywhere when it comes to technology, but how do you see it changing other industries?
I think it's going to change it will touch almost
every industry.
I think to take a traditionally non-tech example, agriculture. It sounds a little bit perverse to describe agriculture as a non-technical industry, given that it's an area of kind of human endeavour that was the biggest technological advancements in the distant past. But if we take a narrower definition of tech to be more like digital computation, what we're seeing now is revolutionary kind of systems and ideas around things like precision farming. So you've got an AI system that could analyse satellite data, weather patterns and soil conditions and all sorts of different data sets coming together to optimise everything from planting schedules, irrigation, harvesting to maximise crop yields. That's just one example. Human medicine is clearly another. We saw last week the Nobel Prize for Chemistry going to the collaboration with DeepMind on AlphaFold to predict the structures of proteins. We're going to see a lot more of that, I think. So I'm feeling very optimistic.
Do you think AI has the power to influence overall happiness in humans? And
yeah, I do. I'm an optimist. You hear a lot of kind of doomsaying about AI, but I think happiness is obviously a subjective term, but I think the capacity of AI to increase overall well-being. One example that we're seeing kind of right now is like freeing up time, making more kind of dull manual tasks more automated. So people have their time freed up to do things that are more fulfilling. One example from Ocula is we work with e-commerce teams to generate content for their websites. And one often neglected part of a site is the alt text. So this is the kind of meta descriptions that sit behind the content, like the imagery and so on, that are really important for SEO, but really important for those that are using assistive technology. So from an accessibility perspective, now if you imagine you're a typical e-commerce site with 100,000 products, and each one of those product pages has 5 to 10 images on that. To create the alt text is a Herculean task. So it's something that's disliked by the e-com teams because it's kind of a little bit boring and mundane and repetitive. So it's often neglected, and then that leads to a poor customer experience or user experience for somebody who might be visually impaired, who's reliant on that alt text to understand what the content of the website is. So with the Ocula system, what we can do is just automate that. We can do what takes somebody, 50 to 100 days worth of manual effort to type all these things out. We can do it in minutes. So that's just one example.
Yeah.
There's also maybe a slightly bigger picture as well. Like we talked about agriculture a moment ago, but the capacity of AI to revolutionise human medicine, things around the economy, infrastructure, neuroscience, an incredibly exciting time. There's a very good essay that was written and published only a couple of weeks ago by Daniel Amodi, who's the co-founder and CEO of Anthropic, and it lays out a very, what I think, feasible, plausible, but incredibly optimistic vision of the future. So if you ever need cheering up on a Monday morning, I'd go and seek that out. It's called Machines of Loving Grace.
Great. So you touched on it a little bit of moving to a startup from somewhere like Deloitte and the challenges, in particular around recruitment. But I guess, has there ever been? I'm sure there has to have been moments where you doubt yourself, or you've just been a failure at something, and how have you learned from it, and just getting over that kind of that self-doubt, I guess, because that must be quite different going from somewhere like Deloitte to the more startup kind of environment.
Definitely, you're learning a lot of new things all the time, and you really need to be comfortable with rejection. And learning to overcome discouragement, I think, is a really key skill of an entrepreneur, of a founder. There have absolutely been moments where you've had a run of knockbacks from investor calls that you've had, but that's just par for the course.
I guess it builds the resilience as well in a way, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and you often find these things are like buses. You'll have a rejection from an investor, a customer who might not be happy, an employee who has got some issues, things go wrong. These things tend to all pile up on top of each other. So resilience and capacity to overcome encouragement is key, but also recognizing that failure can be instructive. And I think taking the time to reflect on if something didn't go well and learning from it is super important. No one gets this right first time. Right?
Completely.
Part of the journey is failing fast, understanding.
That's one of your company kind of mottos, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's expecting that that's going to be the case, realizing that when it does, it presents an opportunity, but really importantly, learning from it and turning it around quickly.
And how would you describe the culture at Ocula?
I'm very proud of that culture. Again, when Tom and I sat down and thought about the kind of company that we want, we really put culture front and centre, because it's what we're going to be doing for most of our lives. But we know we've been in environments in the past where the culture has been hierarchical, knowledge is power, people don't share things, there's lots of pressure and stress, there's a blame culture, and just how unpleasant that is to work in, and also how counterproductive it can be. So we set out a bunch of core principles from the off, which I'm proud to say we've stuck by, around absolute transparency, being non-hierarchical in the sense that everybody is made to feel empowered to challenge and to offer ideas and to disagree agreeably, and so on. So that's a core thing, but also being inquisitive, right? So making sure, as I said, we're making the time and the space for people to pursue interests that are related to Ocula that could benefit, even if there's not an immediate application of what they're doing. and I think what that means is that, you know, the people who work at Ocula thrive. They're doing interesting work. You know, everybody's respectful of each other, and we're far greater than the sum of our parts. You know,
Yeah.
it's a slightly cliched expression, and I think that's reflected in the fact that we've had minimal churn.
Turnover.
Actually, people do genuinely like to work there, so I'm very proud of that.
Brilliant. And I guess just one final question, just looking back on everything and the journey so far, is there anything that, you know, sticks out that you would have done differently, or, oh gosh, I wish I could have gone back and done that differently, or I'm sure there's a long list of stuff with a startup company, but is there any?
Yeah, loads of things. Two things. One is, once you've identified maybe some poor performance,
Yeah.
Addressing it immediately, because it's better for the individuals concerned in the long term, and it's better for Ocula. It's not always the easiest thing to do when you're running a mile a minute, and you know you're dealing with all sorts of issues, and you're building, you're thinking, and you're looking forward to have difficult conversations with people. So that's definitely a learning that I've taken forward. And the other is focus and narrowing the vision.
Yeah.
I think when we first started this, we had, and we still have, a very grand vision of what we think Ocula can be. But there is also the reality of what you can achieve with a small team. And I think we went reasonably broad across 3 different distinct products early on.
Yeah.
And eventually we realised that there's no way we're going to achieve product market fit with a 20-person team across 3 different products, not even 2 products. So we really zeroed in on Boost, where we think the greatest opportunity is. There's no reason why we can't return to the other things at some point in the future, because the green shoots are there and we know how to build it and so on. But I think I think that focus, if we were to kind of wind the clock back and do it again, we go, no, it's one thing from the start, and it's all in on that to get going a little bit quicker.
Awesome. Greg, thank you so much. It's been great. Really good insights into Ocula and the world of AI in general. Really, really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.